In the last part of our series, we talked about choosing the right plants for your site. Now we'll be focusing on essential soil conditions and show you step by step how to plant your own miniature alpine garden. Drainage is the most important when growing alpines. Most species won't tolerate wet conditions around their roots. If you have naturally well-drained sandy soils in your garden, you won't need to do much preparation. However, if you garden on clay, then growing alpines in raised beds or containers is the better option. To test your soil's drainage, dig a small hole and pour in water. Time how long it takes for the water to drain away, and if it drains in a matter of a few minutes or even seconds, you have free draining soil. You can do a similar test with your potting compost by slowly pouring water into the pot. It should drain at a similar speed. For most sun-loving alpines, the ideal compost is made up of 50-50 soil-based peat-free compost and horticultural grit or sharp sand. For woodlanders, plants that thrive in semi-shade, such as hepaticas, perennials that flower in early spring, add 25% leaf mold. The best time to plant alpines is in March or April. During these spring months, the soil is still moist and just starting to warm up. This encourages vigorous root growth and helps plants settle in before the dry, warm summer months. Avoid planting in extreme weather, when it gets too hot or too dry. Even though alpines are naturally adapted to survive extreme temperatures, they will struggle when it gets too warm and too dry before the roots are well established. If planting directly into the ground, make sure you clear the area thoroughly. Any unwanted plants are sure to quickly swamp smaller alpines. To plant up an alpine garden in a container, make sure you choose a container that has plenty of drainage holes at the base. You don't want the compost to be waterlogged at any time. Also make sure it is large enough. You will be planting lots of alpines and you have to consider their mature size. You don't want them to be overcrowded in time. Traditional containers for alpines include sinks, stone troughs like this one, and shallow terracotta pots called pans. Today I'm going to be planting this stone trough. I have already covered the drainage hole with mesh to prevent the compost from draining away, and I have pre-filled the trough with a peat-free 50-50 potting mix. I have left 2 centimeters at the top for top dressing. As you can see, I have also already placed one of the rocks in my trough. You can use any kind of materials like slate, porous rocks, bricks, and you want to recreate a miniature landscape and as many planting pockets as possible. Great, so now it's time to add your plants. To remove the plant from the pot, gently squeeze the sides and then tip it out. You may wish to remove some of the growing compost to make sure the roots will have contact with the peat-free compost you have provided. Lower the plant into the planting hole and firm the soil around it. And then follow the same steps with the rest of your alpines until you're happy with how the trough is looking. And this little treasure, it's one we've mentioned in the previous episode. It's a mossy saxifrage. It's a great beginner's plant and you'll find it in almost any garden center. Now I'm planting this tiny euonymus, fairly high, just sort of to mimic nature and the height that various woody plants add to a landscape. Make sure from time to time you have a look all around your trough and you're happy with how it looks, you're happy with the planting. This tiny gem is Viola Gioiei. It comes from Transylvania, the country I grew up in. And as you can see here, it's got a very well-established root system. It helps the plant becoming happy and growing well in tiny crevices like this. To help your miniature landscape look more natural, it helps to break large pieces of rocks into smaller pieces, which you use just before the final top dressing. So I'm quite happy with how it looks, and now I'm going to top dress this trough, and I'm using a grit that will match the stones I've used so far. This layer of grit will keep the leaves off the damp compost and will prevent rot by keeping the leaves and the crown of the plant dry. Top dressing also stops the rain from splashing any loose compost onto the plant and spoiling them. Lastly, always make sure to water to help the plant settle in. Using a watering can with a sprinkler hose, soak the trough well until water is seen appearing from the drainage hole. So that's it. This is my trough done. I hope it really inspires you to try something like this at home. When planting this, I've chosen sun-loving species, and we're going to place the container in front of the Alpine house at RHS Garden Harlow Carr. Don't miss the third part of our series where we'll cover best tips for aftercare. Thanks for watching.